All right, take two.
I'm glad to see that LA is not on fire the way it was when we were originally supposed to have gotten here. But it's still a little bit cool for me. Long sleeve jackets. But in Minnesota, people would be in shorts and maybe no shirt.
Yeah, I'm sure a few people are doing that now. Actually, probably more than a few. But we just arrived at LAX for this next few days, 5 days and 4 nights to be exact. We'll be here. I am going to be shooting a visual for the album Ativia's Beautiful Shelves, a short film called Beautify The Wounds. And it should only take us a couple of days. I'm gonna spend the rest of the time in LA kind of just hanging out, go to a concert, do a few other things, eat some good food, work out, take advantage of the nice weather in relation to the snowy, frozen tundra that is Minnesota. Ativia's Beautiful Shelves is the name of the album on which this short film is based that we're shooting. The short film is called Beautify The Wounds. Beautify The Wounds is simply just part of a line that was said on the opening track of the album entitled Alabaster. And Ativia is an acronym for art that is visual and audio. Ativia is also happens to be the name of the mask that you'll find on the front cover of the album, and it's a device that is to be worn by the listener in a sense to be able to interpret what's going on these said shelves. Now the shelves represent society as a whole, and each item on the shelf is represented by each song on the album. Collectively, these items come together and imitate what is going on in society. So essentially, the shelves are a metaphor. What's going on in society specifically surrounds systematic racism, white supremacy, systematic injustice, things along those lines. The album is very heavy in content. There are other issues too that are not as related, but they still qualify as societal happenings. So that's the, in a nutshell, explanation of Ativia's Beautiful Shelves in terms of the album. And Beautify The Wounds is just the visual representation of all of that.
This whole album is like cinematic, you know what I mean? And I feel like my role or my character within this like audio, visual, or however you want to word it, is basically somebody coming from an angle of basically seeing the elephant in a room that many people choose to not want to acknowledge is around, you know what I mean? And I'm pretty much like, yo, it's an elephant in a room, and it's a big ass pink elephant in a room.
Because somebody ordered food and waitresses come in and walk all in front of the screen, your cars in the parking lot and all that. It was like a cool, intimate, nice.
No laughing, Kamaal. We Kamaal is what I call an OG when it comes to the art, when it comes to just basically human interaction. He has a professionalism about him that, in my opinion, to which others pale in comparison. You just don't really get a whole lot of that, unfortunately, when you collaborate. At least not 100% of the time. It's not to say that it doesn't exist, but it's very difficult to find professionalism. It's very difficult to find, pleasant interaction with other artists. There's a lot of ego involved in our not only genre, but in our business. And there's a genuine aspect to Kamaal as a person. Diorama and Terrarium are the two full-length videos on, or rather within the film, and they kind of summarize two different things. Basically, Diorama is about white privilege, which is the elephant in the room that Kamaal refers to, portrayed as a physical diorama or a fixture that would fit on top of a shelf. That
Living in a bubble outside, turn a rubble safety zone in your home. Realize no struggle. Piece of a puzzle where the skies don't touch you. We the prize on subtle, heat the wise, no trouble. And all the forms that it takes. Reborn, reforming its prey. Devour powder, feel strays. Your dreams can't see it this way. Cause affliction lives in a jurisdiction of those with no pocket.
Working with this dude is seamless just because of the fact that he is quick to turn around. His lyrics are always on point. He brings a different perspective because he's from a different generation from mine. You know, we're both considered a little older when it comes to the hip hop art being a young man's sport and all that. And the ceiling is being pushed up, obviously, but there's a professionalism that's easier to deal with and easier to establish because that factor already exists. His role on this project is very integral. It speaks volumes, and even though the hook on Diorama is very short, it's in a nutshell. It summarizes everything that I'm talking about on the other side of things in a nutshell, and I think that it makes the song.
As I approach this mantle immaculately arranged, barricaded hidden images of fruits strange produced will fill the vessel and constitute these contents of what seems on the surface is innocence and its aging. Attribution to ancestral blood performs the tracing the source's force from a forceful and fearful faction and force piece. This shelf space surrounds itself by ferns, allows its hatred to burn and it disregards what you earn. Hanging to lenses will symbolize how we repeat the scenes. A few fancy decanters will complete the theme. Disturbing silence and a forceful push when the truth attempts to resurface and lack of answers completes the dream.
Day 2 here. We're in LA, Los Angeles, California, specifically at Runyon Canyon Park. We're currently shooting the video for Terrarium from my album Ativia's Beautiful Shelves. Song features my man Excel, aka Morrison Machiavelli.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Excel Hip Hop. The short film that we're shooting is called Beautify The Wounds, a visual based on the album with plenty of concepts, plenty of random objects breaking in, things of that nature. The wind is perfectly placed for everything that we need, and we're getting things done. So we'll catch up in a second. Peace.
Before the point we reach where we carry labels that deem us refurbished, damaged taste is told, but damn a complacent soul. Stay stagnant and loosen my grip on chances to submerge my insides with some scrutinous hips will never result from heartache happening all endeavors. Equate to gluttonous ways to rectify famish in days of cold. Fair to state my
Day 2, part 2 of day 2. As you can see, we're in the heart of downtown LA, Los Angeles, California. Just finished shooting a scene for part of the movie, mainly B-roll, and we're headed to Venice Beach so that we can finish doing that. Earlier this morning we were shooting the video. It's going to be inserted into the film for the song Terrarium featuring Morrison Machiavelli. Right now we're just kind of finishing up and we're making progress, so it's going well. We'll catch up with you in a second. Hopefully what the person listening and observing would get is a cinematic kind of representation or cinematic feel to everything that's going on as opposed to strictly a rap performance. So that's the intent. The visual album, in this sense, Beautify The Wounds, is intended to do that on a different level. You have that feel in the form of a short film or a series of music videos. If you go to a live show, you get that feel in a very kind of more raw form.
if the principles you live by are gospel, then what's homicide when God's got you? Ills.
Recording in the studio is important. It's very tedious because it's basically the foundation of what everything is going to be. That is that song. Every word, every syllable, every bit and point of delivery has to be perfect. Terrarium is a little bit different because it's something that it addresses something that is prevalent in society, which is basically just heartbreak and jade that results from that heartbreak and recovery from that heartbreak. I have conversations with friends and even my significant other about this now. Healthy conversations, of course, take place from this type of thing. But it's just interesting because when these songs are performed live, they give two completely different projections, but if one were to listen very closely, they could follow everything that's going on. Yeah, that's it.
Resemblance by the city. Skyscrapers reside, signs and landscapes observed from a pie that project a pretty picture, a bird's eye view and a phoenix perspective of fixtures. A circuit board to scale. Skin penetrating braille describes the texture.
Matter of fact, you know what? Run it back.